Guys, it is a big day for NeBula, for the NeBula project. This is the thing that in 5 to 10 years, 99% of the people on the internet will be using. If you want to go on the internet, just like with Google, you're using NeBula and you're going through NeBula. And today I want to share my vision, and I do have visuals to demonstrate what potentially the land buying process of the planet NeBula can look like. That's what this video is about. It's all visual. It's all about the planet. I do have a few slides, but I'm gonna explain everything. And I found a few different video games that kind of visualize a potential similar buying process. Obviously, all of it's going to be completely custom. We're not going to copy anything, word, code for code or whatever off of any of these games. This is completely unique. You're buying digital land that also is a cryptocurrency. It's never been seen before, and it is the epicenter of Web3. Everyone's going to want it. Digital land, the next huge thing. And we know the reason it's going to be so expensive and so wanted is because it's going to be the epicenter of Web3. Now, getting to the overall landscape, of course, the size of the total planet, I have, thought about right around 250 million total miles. Of course, it can be bigger, and I will explain that here. You can see 100 million land miles, which is around 40% land, 60% water. That's all to be determined. I would actually want to get a look at mock NeBula planets to see the land-water ratio. My goal on the whole land-water ratio, whether it's 70-30, whether it's 75-25, it's all about how it looks, aesthetically pleasing. I want something that's going to be pleasing so I can adjust it no matter what. We can keep the planet bigger than Earth or even make it bigger because remember, Earth is at right around 200 total million square miles. This would be 250 with the idea to where if I want more water, I bump it to 300 and I keep the land at 100. Obviously, if 1 mile is worth 1 coin, the max total supply will also be 100 million total coins. Overall, just looking at this configuration, you can see it would be 40% land, 60% water. Earth is around 29% land, and then so Earth would have more water on it than NeBula. I may overall want more water on the planet. We will see. You can see overall land is similar to Earth. There's mountains, hills, valleys, but everything is going to be more extreme in a realistic sense. Example, the tallest mountain on NeBula would be 2 times bigger than Everest. So, I'm not trying to make this planet crazy, unearth-like, zero gravity, totally ridiculous, because I want there to be a connection to where when we buy digital land, it's really like we're buying an extension of, like an idea of a terraformed exoplanet, right? Like it's still realistic. Obviously, we can do things to make it fun. And I do have examples to where this is fiction. It's a fictional planet. Let's have some fun with it. We're going to get into it. But overall, it is going to be generally realistic, similar to Earth in terms of valleys, mountains, stuff like that. And then there will be a little extra added onto the side because it is fiction and you can do that. This is not the real world. Let's have some fun with it and make it interesting. The land will include features from other planets. So, when anyone Googles like cool land features on other planets that could never happen on Earth, it's going to include some of those, but in kind of a realistic way. Again, I'm not going to have like, oh, there's going to be the whole planet's going to be covered in diamonds. We're not doing that. When you go on the planet, when I visualize it, when you look at it, it's going to look like a terraformed Mars. It's going to look, similar to Earth. It's not going to be this alien crazy thing where it would be impossible for humans to survive. It's like a terraformed planet. I will show visuals of different terraformed planets as kind of a comparison to what NeBula could be like when we get to the visual part of it. Example, Diamond Hills, a freshwater ocean, Ice 7, etc. If you don't know what Ice 7 is, Google it. But like the idea is maybe, it's just fun. Like the whole, let's say, for example, you buy 5 miles of Nebula. So you buy 5 coins. And let's say you buy it during the pre-sale or whenever, like really early on into Nebula, where the simulation is just starting and land development is just, happening. There's really no humans yet on Nebula. There's really no civilization development yet on Nebula. But suddenly out of nowhere, a diamond hill pops up in your, 5-mile radius of what you own. I just think there's cool things like that. Now, it's not going to make your land more valuable. All of the land is worth the same no matter what. It would be impossible to value a certain land higher than another part of the planet because one coin is worth 1 coin. The coastline is not going to be worth more than inland. It all has to be worth the same. Otherwise, the cryptocurrency would not work. You're not going to have one Bitcoin valued higher than another Bitcoin just because this one Bitcoin is owned by someone. It's all the same. That's the same thing. It's all going to be worth the same. The simulation is just to add to it and really to give people something. It's like you're actually into the whole idea of having fun, almost like kind of a Minecraft thing where it's an open world and you can see stuff growing on your land. It's just a cool little thing to have. Land formation different from Earth. So we're not going to make it like, oh, South America is going to be South America. North America is going to be North America. Look, I can see the United States. That's not going to happen, right? There will be country-like land structures, but it's not going to be the same land formation. There will be country type things, a lot of different islands. I have very cool ideas on different islands on what I want to do and how I want to structure those. Maybe even do a circle island. So maybe in one of the bigger oceans on Nebula, it's just a circle and the land is a circle and around it is a bunch of water and in the middle is a bunch of water and you can own land on the circle. I think that'd be really, really cool. A sapphire island. I love sapphire. You could make an entire island sapphire or at least parts of it. And it's like, oh, I want to buy something on Nebula. I want to buy land on Nebula. You can choose to purchase. I mean, I'm sure it'll be very high in demand because it's a cool feature. But, that would be something that could be purchased and it would all cost the same. It's not like, oh, I'm paying more for the Sapphire Island. 1 mile on Nebula is 1 mile on Nebula. No matter if you're buying an area that's a Sapphire Island, no matter if you're buying, a circular island, no matter if you're buying the North Pole, it's all going to be the same thing. Weird but realistic land formations. I think I touched on that. North Pole with palm trees. So this is kind of just another cool thing we can do, It's the idea of we're so conditioned on Earth, it's like, oh, Antarctica is freezing, the North Pole is freezing. Because this is a fictional planet, we can do things like this to where at the tippy top of the planet, we could have a very tropical setting. Just because it's fun. It doesn't have to be that realistic, so it's like the idea of having palm trees and making like it Hawaii. Make the North Pole Hawaii. It's not going to be exactly like the North Pole. Again, the land formations are going to be different, but that's another cool thing you can have on the planet. Maybe a wind island where when you go on the island, it's constantly like 70 or 80 mile per hour wind gusts. That's another type of thing there. Glowing rings around the planet for 1 hour once every 3 months. So that's just another feature I thought. That's incorporating Saturn. We all know how beautiful the rings of Saturn are. My thought process is we make this feature very rare and it's random and it happens one time every 3 months. So once a quarter and it happens for 1 hour. That's it. It's not a day because I know I also have the idea of the glowing planet where the planet changes colors because the sun is a different color and it reflects on it. That's another thing that I want every 15th of every 3 quarter. So that idea would be March 15th, June 15th, September 15th, December 15th, to where the planet will change color for an entire day. This is just 1 hour, once a quarter. So 4 quarters in a year, so 4 times. And it would just, it would have rings around it randomly, and the rings would glow like green or red or something, just as a fun thing and another feature. That's the whole idea of where it's realistic, but then you also bring some fiction into it. you got to jazz it up a little bit, things like that. Start of the simulation. So this has been something that I've really debated. Do I start it in BC? Do I start it in AD? I think it's perfect. I have to start at the year 0. The simulation, in my opinion, I mean, this can change, maybe, but my thought process is right now, let's begin year 0. That's it. Main chapters of Nebula. So this has to do with the timeline that I do quickly want to go over. So the first chapter of Nebula, and really there's no significance to me labeling these chapters other than it's just organization. That's it. So the year 0 to year 365, which will be 1 year. So to go from year 0 to 365, it's going to take 1 year on Earth, and this will all be explained in my time dilation video. How fast is Nebula going to be in compared to Earth? 1 day on Earth is going to be equivalent to 1 year on Nebula, and this will all be explained. No real civilization. So the first year of Nebula, we're going to have no crazy, there's going to be little tribes, there's going to be things developing, but it's going to be very small. You're not going to see any skyscrapers. It's going to be really intimate. I want us to get the true feel of how people in the year 200 felt. I would love to see something like that, and just because you never see that, the real life growing of a civilization, human, land developing into what it is today. Buying something, watching it develop in real time over the course of multiple years. There's no unique process. This is totally one of a kind. It's a one of a kind idea. Second chapter, year 366 to 730. It takes 1 year, because again, 1 year on Nebula is equivalent to 1 day on Earth. This is pre-modern life. Chapter 3, the next 365 years will cover the next Earth year. That is modern life. Chapter 4, we keep going. That is future society. Chapter 5, that's when Nebula becomes a Type 1 civilization. Chapter 6, that's when Nebula possibly becomes a Type 2 civilization, and we blow past the real Earth years, that would be to 2190, and it would take the span of 6 years there, and it would keep developing and keep getting more futuristic. That's the idea of that. Now, when it comes to the visualizations, this is just, the color that I do really like. Now, this is a gas planet. This is just an artist rendition of something. I would like Nebula to be a color like this. It would be a little bit different and a little bit harder due to the fact that there would be land on Nebula and not just, it wouldn't be a gas planet, but still I like that. That is just a photo of a exoplanet that is bigger than Earth, kind of in the same mold that Nebula would be, to where Nebula might be 250 million miles. Maybe it'll be 300 million miles compared to Earth being 196 million miles. Now, when it comes to the actual land, these are just some different games. I think it's like Civilization 6 or something, GTA in there. The idea is when you go into Nebula, you can see Google Earth and stuff like that. When you go in and you go to buy land, it's almost kind of like a video game. But the thing is with it, this is, it's live every day. It's developing, and the idea of the price of Nebula, if you invest into it, of course, we're hoping it goes up. When you buy Bitcoin in 2011, you're probably going to be doing pretty well if you still have it. That's kind of the idea of Nebula. When you buy it, you hold it. It is the epicenter of Web3. And I do also want to have social media around the idea of Nebula as well, and kind of this artificial planet. We're a little bit too early in terms of terraforming Mars, in terms of going to different galaxies, but at least we have the technology, I believe, to run a real-life simulation of an actual Earth-type planet developing before our very eyes that we can own. That's when it gets really cool to think about. And this is another great, again, I believe, gas planet, but I just love the overall shading of blue when it comes to it. And then you can see some different terraformed exoplanets. That one probably has about, I would say, 75% land, which is something I would not want, because I do like the visual representation of water. This is another one that, you know, you can just see some different ones. I really like the shading of water in this one, just the way it looks, very light with the dark blue mixed in, and the overall vibrance of the land right there. And you can just see kind of some different renditions of the planet and just kind of how it will look when you go into it. It's kind of like Google Earth, and you go to buy areas and you can see who owns what area. The person could certainly be anonymous, but it's like you go in and you zoom in on land and it's like, oh, you know, anonymous, you know, Ronald457, whatever their username is on their Nebula account, he owns 72 acres, which is equivalent to 0.001 mile, and you can see where he owns. And then if we get the social media feature into it, you can connect with other people around you with the land and things like that and talk to them. That would be the idea as the simulation on Nebula actually plays out. Nebula is a better version of Earth. We can leave Earth, you know, even if it's just digitally. This is the idea, and then people will make fun and say, oh, you know, you'll just play with video games. No, you can, this is, we're all going to be rich off of this. That's the whole idea of it. If we get into it early, you know, and this is the epicenter of Web3. Why is Bitcoin worth money? Why is Ethereum worth money? Why is, you're going to sit here and tell me Dogecoin and all the, come on, guys. Nebula, legitimately, I have a dream. I'm envisioning Nebula being the number 2 cryptocurrency in market cap behind Bitcoin and in front of Ethereum. It's going to be, right now we have a big 2 in cryptocurrency. We're going to get a big 3. The money that gets poured into Nebula will be crazy. Everyone's going to want land. It's just another feature. It's like, oh, you're going to buy Ethereum, but you also get land to a digital planet that's going to be the epicenter of Web3. How could you not? It is amazing. It is a magical, magical idea, a magical time, and there will be a ton of groundwork to be done when it comes to Nebula, and certainly a lot of stuff to do. But this is just kind of my overall design, my overall vision of what the planet could look like in terms of the amount of land compared to water, in terms of, you know, a big video coming on the time dilation. You know, 1 day of Earth is going to be equivalent to 1 year on Nebula, but there will only be one visual sunrise and sunset because the time's just going to move too fast. But that's a video for another day. I'm going to save that. The overall idea of this video is, what is it going to be like? We're going to be dealing with early on in Nebula. I want it to be really intimate. I want it to look exactly like how the world looked in the year 100, in the year 50, in the year 200, and then we go and we move, and as years pass, Nebula gets more and more expensive. Skyscrapers come up, and we see Nebula, the planet, develop their technology faster than on Earth, and it becomes a Type 2 civilization in year 6 or in year 7. All of that is tentative. It can all change. This is just my rough vision of it. But overall, guys, that's going to do it for this video.